Have you ever stopped to consider, with total honesty, that the most dangerous moment of your entire day might be precisely the one that should represent renewal, rest, and the beginning of a new life cycle? Imagine that in the first 30 seconds, right after opening your eyes and waking up, you are making a silent biomechanical decision that will determine whether you spend the rest of your journey with total autonomy or walk toward a painful and limiting physical dependency. There is an invisible error committed by the vast majority of people over 60 that occurs long before your feet touch the firm floor of the bedroom. We are not talking about an incurable disease or the inevitable weight of age, but a mechanical engineering failure that attacks your spine while it is in its state of greatest biological vulnerability. Do you wake up feeling your body extremely stiff, as if all your joints were trapped in a suit of iron armor? This persistent signal is not just passing fatigue, it is the desperate alert cry of a structure that is being sabotaged by a habit you likely consider absolutely harmless and automatic. Currently, thousands of seniors suffer from severe cumulative microlesions in their intervertebral discs simply because they completely ignore the correct architecture of the act of rising. What many prematurely diagnose as the weight of age is, in reality, avoidable physical aggression that compresses sensitive nerves and wears down vertebrae in an accelerated and unnecessary way. However, there is a powerful opportunity hidden under your sheets, a strategic transition technique, a true ritual of preservation that transforms the beginning of your day into a shield against physical fragility. Today, we will reveal exactly how you can regain absolute control over your aging, ensuring that your independence begins at the exact moment you wake up. Many times we accept morning stiffness as an inevitable companion of time, a biological tax that we are forced to pay for having lived many decades with intensity. This is the first great error of perception, faithfully believing that waking up with a heavy body and a locked back is something intrinsic and unchangeable in the process of human aging. In reality, this deafening silence around the subject hides a true silent epidemic of biomechanical negligence that affects millions of individuals over 60 around the world. The problem is frequently ignored because the pain usually arises in a subtle and insidious way. A small discomfort that seems to disappear after the first cup of coffee, but which is accumulating deep and irreversible structural damage at the base of your spinal column without you perceiving the real danger you are in. While you ignore these warning signs, your body performs a Herculean effort to try to compensate for sudden movements that overload the vertebrae in a completely disproportionate and dangerous way. This lack of conscious perception regarding your own daily movement is what opens the doors to chronic lesions, persistent inflammation, and the gradual loss of your precious physical autonomy. As we cross the border of 60 years, our organism undergoes very specific physiological transformations that make the act of waking up a moment of extreme and dangerous technical vulnerability. The main biological factor involved here is disc dehydration. Intervertebral discs lose water and shock absorption capacity with the natural passage of years, making the spine much stiffer and prone to painful fissures right in the early hours of the morning. During the hours of deep sleep, these discs tend to expand slightly, but they lose the flexibility necessary to perform rapid twisting or bending movements right upon waking up suddenly. When you try to get up in any way without a clear protection strategy, you are subjecting these natural shock absorbers to violent and uneven mechanical pressure. Additionally, the production of synovial fluid, the lubricant for your joints, significantly decreases during prolonged rest, leaving the hip and knee joints temporarily dry and vulnerable to friction. Added to this, we have the vascular instability known as orthostatic hypotension, which generates sudden dizziness and can lead to catastrophic morning falls. Understanding these biological changes is the fundamental first step toward stopping the aggression against your spine and starting to treat it with technical respect. The central conflict threatening the longevity of millions of people is not a rare external pathology, but an invisible and daily biomechanical error practiced within one's own bedroom. The most common and deeply destructive habit upon waking is the use of weakened abdominal muscles to perform a sudden frontal flexion, trying to lift the torso directly from the pillow to a sitting position. This direct lever movement, often combined with a sudden and clumsy lateral twist, generates a massive peak of intradiscal pressure that crushes the discs against the adjacent nerves. Instead of a smooth and protected transition, you subject your spine to severe compression that accelerates cartilage wear and predisposes the emergence of herniated discs. It is this silent technical error that transforms a common awakening into a dangerous trigger for acute crises of incapacitating pain. What is truly at stake in this discussion is not just a passing discomfort in the back, but your functional autonomy and the sacred right to age with dignity and physical vigor. When you neglect the correct way to get up, you feed a vicious cycle where morning pain dictates the restrictive rhythm of your entire day of activities. The constant fear of locking up the spine ends up generating excessive self-protection behavior, which invariably leads to a sedentary lifestyle, muscle atrophy, and accelerated bone fragility due to lack of use. In the long term, this motor decline results in falls, frequent hospitalizations, and the terrible need to depend on third parties to perform basic tasks of daily living. Preserving your ability to get up with ease and without pain is the fundamental pillar for maintaining power over your life. To understand why we wake up feeling the body frozen, we must dive into the fascinating physiology of nocturnal rest and its profound structural implications. While you sleep, your body enters a state of prolonged immobility that deeply alters the mechanics and density of your connective tissues and tendons. Muscles and fascia become less elastic due to the reduction in body temperature and the lack of constant mechanical stimulus during the hours of deep sleep. During rest, peripheral blood circulation decreases drastically and body fluids tend to accumulate, creating an internal sensation of swelling and joint stiffness. This biological state is a way of saving energy for cellular recovery, but it requires that the return to movement be done gradually and extremely respectfully to avoid ruptures or painful strains in the tissues. Ignoring this physiological need for warm-up and jumping out of bed suddenly is like trying to accelerate a powerful engine that has spent the entire night exposed to intense cold. Synovial fluid, essential for the lubrication of your biological gears, needs gentle movements to be efficiently redistributed through the joint cavities of the hip and knees before weight bearing. In aging, this relubrication process becomes naturally slower, requiring you to perform preparatory stimuli before subjecting the skeleton to the total load of body weight. When you force movement without this preparation, clicks and stings of pain occur that many mistakenly confuse with irreversible wear. In reality, most of these discomforts are just the result of a machine operating without proper lubrication at its most critical daily moment. Analyzing the error of the incorrect lever, we perceive that forced frontal flexion is the greatest enemy of the integrity of your lumbar spine after 60. By projecting the chest upward while the legs are still extended, you create crushing pressure in the intervertebral discs that can exceed the safety limits of the cartilaginous tissue. If there is any component of disordered rotation in this process, the risk of nerve injury is multiplied exponentially as the disc fibers are pulled in opposite directions simultaneously. This brute maneuver completely ignores the physiological curvatures of the spine, which are cold and unprotected by the deep stabilizing muscles. It is precisely in this small interval of time that the disc fissures begin, leading to months of medical and physical therapy treatment, withdrawing you from activities. The mechanical impact of this repetitive aggression generates a cascading effect of degeneration that compromises the health of the facet joints and reduces the space of vital nerve canals. When you feel that electricity going down your legs or an inexplicable lumbar fatigue right at dawn, your body is emitting a technical distress signal. This incorrect movement pattern generates chronic inflammatory processes that prevent the natural regeneration of tissues that should occur during sleep. Without a definitive change in the way you transition out of bed, no medication will be able to fully restore your health, as the aggression is renewed every morning. I want to recognize you who are here seeking to protect your own story. If you wish to maintain your autonomy, comment now, "My Body, My Rules," and subscribe to strengthen our longevity community. To reverse this risk scenario, we must adopt the engineering of safe movement, starting with the fundamental technique of rolling the body as a single solid block. Instead of trying to lift the torso forward, the protective secret is to turn the entire body to one side at once, keeping shoulders and hips perfectly aligned. This intelligent movement protects your spine against harmful twists and uses the body's own lateral structure as a stable and secure support base. By rolling in a block, you prevent the vertebrae from rotating independently, which neutralizes the pressure on dehydrated discs. It is a simple adjustment in the daily routine, but it has a profound impact on the preservation of your spinal cord and nerve roots, allowing you to wake up without the risk of suffering an acute blockage. With the body properly positioned on its side, the next pillar of this engineering involves the strategic use of arms as high-efficiency lateral mechanical supports. Instead of demanding effort from the back muscles to rise, you should place your hands and elbows firmly on the mattress, pushing the bed down with controlled force. This support transfers the workload from your vulnerable lumbar spine to the upper limbs, which are anatomically better prepared to handle this momentary pressure of elevation. By keeping the torso straight and aligned during this lateral rise, you ensure that the transition is performed with minimum compensatory effort and maximum structural safety. It is a technical movement that respects the biomechanics of maturity, allowing you to gain verticality without subjecting your physical integrity to unnecessary risks. While your arms lift the torso safely, your legs must act as a fundamental counterweight to balance the entire exit maneuver from the bed fluidly. Simultaneously with the effort of the hands, let the knees and feet slide gently off the edge of the mattress, using the natural force of gravity in your favor. This synchronized movement creates a kind of biological seesaw that drastically reduces the need for strength in the abdominal core and the sensitive lower back region. Upon concluding this transition, you will find yourself sitting comfortably at the edge of the bed, with your feet properly positioned, without having felt any painful stretching in the back. This motor coordination, once transformed into a habit, becomes a ritual of power that ensures your spine remains aligned and protected on a daily basis. Being seated, however, is only half of the safety journey. Now we apply the bed activation protocol to prepare your circulatory and articular systems for action. Before putting your full weight on your feet, you must perform small pumping movements with your ankles, moving your feet up and down rhythmically. This simple exercise works as a peripheral muscle pump that facilitates the return of blood to the heart, preparing your blood pressure for the change to a vertical plane. Feel how the calf muscles begin to warm up and send signals of readiness to your brain immediately. This prior activation process warns the nervous system that real movement is about to begin, significantly reducing the risk of sudden dizziness and ensuring firmness when you finally stand up. Continue this preparation by dedicating a few precious seconds to the lubrication of your upper joints and also the delicate region of the neck. Perform gentle circular movements with your wrists and open and close your hands repeatedly to awaken fine motor coordination and the grip strength necessary for balance. Then move your shoulders in slow circles to distribute synovial fluid through the scapular joints, ensuring they are ready to assist in your immediate postural balance. These small gestures of care are fundamental for dissipating the fog of morning inertia and restoring neural communication between the brain and limbs. When you invest this time to lubricate the machine, you are preventing momentary imbalances that occur due to a pure lack of preparation of the central nervous system, protecting yourself against falls. Finally, the connection between mind and muscle culminates in the golden rule of the 30-second wait before the total verticalization of the body. Remain seated at the edge of the bed for this brief period to allow your blood pressure to stabilize and your vestibular system to recalibrate perfectly in space. This waiting time is vital to avoid the sudden drop in cerebral oxygenation that can cause fainting or motor instability in people over 60. During these seconds, breathe deeply, feeling the air expand your lungs, and strengthen your physical presence while mentally reinforcing that you possess absolute control over every movement. Only when you feel that your vision is perfectly clear and your balance is solid should you lean firmly and stand up to start your day with energy. This strategic patience should not be interpreted as a sign of weakness, but as a superior technical intelligence that prioritizes your longevity and general well-being. Imagine transforming every awakening into a planned victory for your structural health and your long-term functional independence. By mastering this protective mechanic, you are making a daily investment in the integrity of your deepest and most sensitive biological tissues. This consistent practice prevents natural wear from transforming into incapacitating pathologies that could steal your joy of living and your mobility. It is not just a way to get out of bed, it is a manifesto of profound respect for your own body and your personal history. Over the weeks, you will notice that stiffness decreases and your confidence to perform physical activities increases. To understand the impact of these choices, observe the story of two 70-year-old men with very similar physical conditions at the beginning of their journeys. The first, upon waking, tries to jump out of bed impetuously, forcing his spine in a sudden and unprotected movement of frontal flexion to save time. The result is a dry click, followed by a stabbing pain that forces him to spend the entire day dependent on strong medications and canceling important commitments with his family. In contrast, the second man takes a deep breath and rigorously applies the log rolling technique and muscle activation. He respects his body's stabilization time and uses his arms as a secure lateral support. While the first man sees his world shrink, the second maintains a vigorous posture, proving that longevity is the result of applied consciousness. The human body does not age randomly or chaotically. It responds directly to the stimuli and aggressions it receives over decades of constant use. Small biomechanical habits, when repeated every day, accumulate a monumental impact on your quality of life and your future locomotion capacity. Physical decline is often a progressive and silent process rather than a sudden event that arises without prior warnings from the bone and muscle structure. By understanding that every movement counts, you elevate your level of body awareness and act as the true guardian of your own health. Old age can and should be a phase of technical strengthening, where the wisdom of movement compensates for the natural changes of time, allowing you to inhabit your body with pride and absolute security. It is natural to feel a certain fear when perceiving that automatic movements may be harming your spine silently and persistently. The fear of losing autonomy and needing help with simple tasks is a real concern, but one that must be transformed into immediate strategic prevention action. If you have watched this far, it is because you value your freedom. Share this knowledge with a dear friend or family member who also wishes to age with health and vigor. Always remember that there is still plenty of time to act and correct movement patterns that no longer serve your integral well-being. Simple technical changes generate a real and lasting impact on your biomechanics, giving you back the lightness of a pain-free awakening and the certainty that your body remains your most faithful ally. If you choose to ignore these guidelines and continue getting up reactively, the future scenario could be marked by an accelerated loss of functional mobility. Constant wear on the intervertebral discs can evolve into chronic nerve compressions, resulting in frequent hospitalizations and a cognitive decline associated with the social isolation caused by persistent pain. In contrast, the scenario for those who decide to act preventively is one of total independence, with the preservation of the ability to walk, travel, and interact with the people you love without physical limitations. The decision of how you want to live your next years is made every morning in the first 30 seconds after waking. Choosing the correct technique is ensuring that your future is written with the ink of freedom and motor vitality. What may seem most surprising and counterintuitive is that danger often lives in the most mundane details of your daily morning routine. Many people believe that performing a sudden stretch while still lying down or stretching an arm laterally to reach an object is a way to wake up the body, when in reality it is a risk. Modern biomechanics studies reveal that torso twisting without stabilization is one of the main causes of acute lumbar pain crises in maturity. Learning that rest requires a technical transition and not a sudden effort is a revelation that completely changes the game of longevity. Being attentive to these revelations allows you to neutralize the most ignored items on the list of domestic risks, ensuring that your home and your bed are places of absolute safety. To put all this into practice tomorrow morning, remember the checklist. Bend your knees, roll your whole body to one side as a single block, and use your arms to push the mattress. Sit up slowly, swing your feet to pump the blood, and wait 30 seconds for stabilization before standing up with total confidence. Small daily decisions like this have the power to positively impact the next decades of your existence in this world. How do you want to feel when you wake up in the next years of your life? Your autonomy and dignity are in your hands and in every conscious movement you decide to adopt from now on. Comment below what you felt when learning this technique, and don't forget to subscribe to continue strengthening your journey of health and power in old age.